Hey! Hey there! Today I'm going to show you my updated build for Freyna. Like many of my videos, an updated Freyna build is a highly requested video. The main reason why is because people want to know if Freyna can be viable, especially that many are claiming that she does not perform well in Axion. Same goes to her performance in Void Erosion Purge. Her recent buffs is just basically, straight up, a buff to her overall damage. But even with the buffs, people still failed to figure out a build that works efficiently. I was right to wait for the September 4th update before making an updated build because my build actually changed when tackling majority of the content right now. And I may have found the perfect solution for all her problems. This segment is related to the build itself, and I want to emphasize that you need to understand how and why this build works in order for you to use the build effectively. I know some of you will question my choice of modules, and if you are, listen carefully. What Freyna lacked in Axion is obviously damage because her damage is limited to tick rates. Hence, why would she be inefficient if she had enough damage? With that, I looked for ways to increase her tick damage even more. This is why we are using RK Leak. RK Leak is a very difficult module to use, and a lot of people couldn't get this module to work because of how mana hungry it is. This module consumes mana per tick damage, which means you will lose mana very fast if the enemy doesn't die quickly. This also recovers mana every time an enemy dies 100%, which works like MP Collector. Just by reading the description, solving the mana issue and mana problems using this module can easily be addressed by simply increasing our damage. This alone already increases our damage by a lot more than Power Beyond, but the bonus damage decreases the lesser mana you have, and it automatically disables when you run out of mana. The next step in increasing our damage is to use both Defense Neutralization and Toxic Chain Catalyst. As mentioned a lot of times before, the higher the percentage, the more valuable that 1% is. Similar to why 1% on fire rate at 89% is very valuable. The main reason is you are getting close to reducing the resistances to 0, but the cap is only 80% resist reduction. You will be getting the full 20% toxic reduction from Toxic Chain Catalyst because we will be using the Plague set. The value of both Defense Neutralization and Catalyst will further increase because we are using Venom Injection. Aside from the bonus skill power modifier, this will also bring our toxic resist reduction to 75%, which will give us a massive bonus in our damage across all content. But this module also brings problems to the table. This will require us to convert into a shield build, and this also has mana consumption. However, at this point, we already have enough damage to basically overpower the mana consumption with the mana recovery from RK Leak. This means we have enough damage to quickly defeat enemies fast enough before we incur a net negative on our mana resources. This is demonstrated in this clip. This right here makes Freyna a very viable mobber for Axion. The only problem is that majority of the enemies here are Order of Truth, which is strong against Toxic. And the 75% toxic resist reduction helps nullify the disadvantage. This build also solves Freyna's lackluster performance in Void Erosion Purge. This is the build. You can replace power increase with focus on toxic, but you will lose roughly 14% damage in exchange for a bit of cooldown reduction, which you don't really need. Since we are using Venom Injection, we will use Overwhelming Shield, which makes amplification control even more valuable. For the blue highlighted module, you can use Increased Shield if survivability is a problem. But I haven't died yet using this build, so I went with skill cost reduction to further combat the mana consumption. You can even replace Strong Mentality with Maximized Conservation for more skill cost reduction. If you want more damage, you can even go for Decimator, but expect times when you'll run out of mana. For component, of course we will go with Plague, but for component cores, we need to use Defense and not Resist because we are using this for our inversion to further boost our shields in case we get hit. The difference between using HP and shield is minimal, so using either won't matter as much. Just use HP if you are limited to resources. For the weapon, we will use Secret Garden, and the only important module are the highlighted ones for 4th ability when we use it against bosses and special monsters. For RK tuning again, we will use Defense Neutralization and Toxic Chain Catalyst. We also need the 2 nodes on range so we can reach the maximum of 300% expandable range when Quantum Domain reaches 13 stacks. You can use this build in any content you want and it will deal an absurd amount of damage. However, it may also be an overkill for weaker contents. If you like, you can choose to use the Venom Synthesis build. This module modifies our third ability and leaves toxic puddles when we move. This also gives us movement speed, which is very useful in 400%, inversions, and other weaker contents. This is just there for quality of life. Use the same weapon, the same arcade tuning, and a little tweak to inversion. For bossing, it's still gonna be the same, but use Power Beyond instead of Arcade Leak because Venom Baptism already has a high skill power modifier. Just remember that the maximum ammo you'll get is only 90. Also remember to roll after using 4th ability to cancel the animation. Going the Zeus's Devotion over Secret Garden will only give you a little boost to damage by about 1 bullet. Use the same on Arcade Tuning but switch to Colossus damage nodes. The Freyna Axion build in this video drastically improved Freyna's viability in this content. She can deal her damage spread quite effectively and efficiently. Also glad to see that people can now use her in Void Erosion Purge using this build by just using her abilities. That's it for the video guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!